It is generally not recommended to connect new Romex wiring to old knob and tube wiring. Knob and tube wiring is an outdated and potentially unsafe electrical system that is not designed to be mixed with modern wiring methods like Romex. Romex wiring is designed for modern electrical systems and has different characteristics than knob and tube. There are several reasons for this incompatibility. Firstly, different insulation materials are used. Romex wiring typically uses modern insulation like THHN or XHHW, which offer better flame resistance and overall safety. Knob and tube wiring, on the other hand, commonly uses cotton or rubber insulation, which is more prone to deterioration and poses a higher fire risk. Secondly, ampacity differences exist. Romex wiring is designed to carry specific amounts of current based on its gauge and is protected by circuit breakers or fuses rated for that amperage. Knob and tube wiring may not have consistent ampacity ratings, and its capacity may be compromised due to age and degradation. Connecting Romex to knob and tube can lead to potential overheating and fire hazards if the wiring is overloaded. Thirdly, grounding is a critical factor. Modern electrical systems require proper grounding to ensure safety and prevent electrical shocks. Knob and tube systems often lack a dedicated grounding conductor. Connecting Romex, which includes a ground wire, to an ungrounded knob and tube system can create a dangerous situation. The absence of grounding can leave appliances and electrical devices vulnerable to damage and increase the risk of electrical shock. Addressing this situation requires careful consideration. The safest and most recommended solution is to replace the knob and tube wiring entirely with modern wiring. This eliminates the risks associated with the old wiring and ensures a safe and reliable electrical system. Complete replacement involves removing all knob and tube components and installing new Romex wiring, outlets, switches, and a modern electrical panel with appropriate circuit breakers or fuses. If replacing the entire knob and tube wiring is not feasible, an alternative approach is to install a subpanel. A subpanel is a separate electrical panel that is properly grounded and connected to the modern electrical system. The new Romex wiring can then be connected to the subpanel, isolating it from the knob and tube system. This approach provides a degree of safety and allows for the use of modern wiring for new circuits or extensions. Wire size is indeed a crucial factor when making electrical connections. The wire gauge, which refers to the thickness of the wire, must be appropriate for the current draw of the devices or appliances being connected. Using an undersized wire can lead to overheating, voltage drop, and potential fire hazards. Conversely, using an oversized wire is generally safe but can be more expensive and difficult to work with. To determine the appropriate wire gauge, it is essential to consider the amperage rating of the circuit and the distance the wire needs to run. Electrical codes and standards such as the National Electrical Code provide guidelines and tables for selecting the correct wire gauge based on these factors. Consulting with a qualified electrician is highly recommended to ensure that the wire gauge is appropriate for the specific application and complies with local electrical codes. Regarding specific ampacities, different wire gauges have different current carrying capacities. For example, according to the National Electrical Code, or NEC, Table 310.15, B16, for copper conductors with type THHN insulation at an ambient temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, a 14-gauge wire is typically rated for 15 amps, a 12-gauge wire for 20 amps, and a 10-gauge wire for 30 amps. These ampacities may vary depending on factors such as the type of insulation, the number of conductors in a raceway or cable, and the ambient temperature. It is crucial to consult the NEC or other relevant electrical codes to determine the correct ampacity for the specific wiring situation. When working with electrical wiring, it is essential to follow all safety precautions and adhere to electrical codes. Always turn off the power to the circuit before making any connections or modifications. Use appropriate tools and equipment, such as insulated screwdrivers and wire strippers. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the work. Electrical work can be dangerous, and improper wiring can lead to serious consequences, including electrical shock, fire, and property damage. When dealing with old wiring systems like knob and tube, it is particularly important to exercise caution and seek professional advice. Knob and tube wiring may have deteriorated insulation, loose connections, and other hidden hazards. A qualified electrician can assess the condition of the wiring and recommend the best course of action to ensure safety and compliance with electrical codes. In summary, connecting new Romex wiring to old knob and tube wiring is generally not recommended due to differences in insulation, ampacity, and grounding. Replacing the knob and tube wiring or installing a subpanel are better options to ensure safety and compatibility. Wire size is crucial, and the appropriate wire gauge must be selected based on the current draw and distance. Always follow safety precautions and consult with a qualified electrician when working with electrical wiring, especially in older homes with knob and tube systems. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when dealing with electrical work. Electrical systems can be complex and dangerous, and it is essential to have the knowledge and skills necessary to perform the work safely and correctly. By following these guidelines and taking appropriate precautions, you can ensure a safe and reliable electrical system for your home. Always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when dealing with electrical work. Firstly, always de-energize the circuit. Before working on any electrical circuit, it is crucial to turn off the power at the circuit breaker or fuse box. This will prevent accidental electrical shock and ensure your safety. Secondly, inspect the wiring. Carefully inspect the wiring for any signs of damage, such as frayed insulation, exposed conductors, or loose connections. Damaged wiring can pose a serious safety hazard and should be repaired or replaced immediately. Thirdly, use appropriate tools. Use insulated tools specifically designed for electrical work. These tools will help protect you from electrical shock and prevent damage to the wiring. Fourthly, follow electrical codes. Adhere to all applicable electrical codes and regulations. These codes are in place to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical systems. Fifthly, test your work. After completing any electrical work, thoroughly test the circuit to ensure that it is functioning properly. Use a multimeter or other testing device to verify voltage, current, and continuity. Sixthly, ground properly. Ensure that all electrical components are properly grounded. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps protect against electrical shock and prevent damage to equipment. Seventhly, protect wiring. Protect wiring from physical damage by using conduit, raceways, or other protective measures. This will help prevent shorts, open circuits, and other electrical problems. Eighthly, label circuits. Clearly label all circuits at the circuit breaker or fuse box. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot circuits in the future. Ninthly, use the correct wire size. Use the correct wire size for the load that the circuit will be carrying. Undersized wires can overheat and cause a fire. Tenthly, secure connections. Ensure that all electrical connections are tight and secure. Loose connections can cause arcing, overheating, and other electrical problems. Finally, if you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to err on the side of caution. A qualified electrician has the knowledge and experience to perform the work safely and correctly. Remember, electricity can be dangerous. Always take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock and other hazards. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety, consult with a qualified electrician. In addition to the above safety precautions, it is also important to be aware of the potential hazards associated with old wiring systems like knob and tube. Knob and tube wiring is an outdated and potentially dangerous wiring method that was commonly used in homes built before the 1950s. Knob and tube wiring typically consists of single insulated wires that are supported by ceramic knobs and run through hollow tubes. The insulation on knob and tube wiring can deteriorate over time, which can create a fire hazard. Additionally, knob and tube wiring is often not grounded, which can increase the risk of electrical shock. If you have knob and tube wiring in your home, it is important to have it inspected by a qualified electrician. The electrician can assess the condition of the wiring and recommend the best course of action. In some cases, it may be necessary to replace the knob and tube wiring with modern wiring. In other cases, it may be possible to repair or upgrade the existing wiring to improve its safety. Replacing knob and tube wiring can be a costly project, but it is an important investment in the safety of your home. If you are considering replacing knob and tube wiring, be sure to get several estimates from qualified electricians. Choose an electrician who is experienced in working with old wiring systems and who is familiar with the electrical codes in your area. In conclusion, connecting new Romex wiring to old knob and tube wiring is generally not recommended due to differences in insulation, ampacity, and grounding. Replacing the knob and tube wiring or installing a subpanel are better options to ensure safety and compatibility. Wire size is crucial and the appropriate wire gauge must be selected based on the current draw and distance. Always follow safety precautions and consult with a qualified electrician when working with electrical wiring, especially in older homes with knob and tube systems. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when dealing with electrical work. Also, it is important to understand the impact of voltage drop when selecting wire sizes. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along the length of a wire due to the wire's resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause appliances to malfunction, lights to dim, and motors to overheat. To minimize voltage drop, it is important to use the correct wire size for the distance that the wire will be running. The longer the wire, the larger the wire size that will be required. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines for calculating voltage drop. It is important to consult the NEC or a qualified electrician to determine the correct wire size for your specific application. Finally, it is important to be aware of the potential for electromagnetic interference or EMI when running electrical wiring. EMI is a disturbance that can affect the performance of electronic devices. EMI can be caused by a variety of sources, including electrical wiring, radio transmitters, and lighting. To minimize EMI, it is important to keep electrical wiring away from sensitive electronic devices. Additionally, it is important to use shielded wiring and to ground the wiring properly.